And that's what a lot of our competitors do. They publish for like a week or maybe 2 or maybe 3, and then they just disappear. You know, one of the things that happens, which is very unfortunate in the world of marketing, is that the more you interact with executives or the closer you get to becoming an executive. For example, I am the chief marketing and product officer at an alternative K-12 virtual school in the US. You know, unfortunately, you start thinking more often in terms of strategy than of execution. And execution is usually how you actually acquire customers, not just from thinking about how to acquire them. So today I came back from vacation, a very short vacation, and I had to actually publish tons of tweets for our social media account for our school. And I realized that I could just film a video related to that, like precisely how I go about doing it and how I go about doing it if I were in your shoes, whether you're starting out like I was 6-7 years ago when all I did was write content for one of the most prestigious content agencies in the US, to even if you're someone like me who is actually leading marketing, but that, like me, you believe that you really cannot lead marketing if all you're doing is just thinking that you have to be in the weeds, you have to be doing the thing. So let's say like right now you just came from vacation and you have a blank calendar. So the first thing I ask myself is simply, what have I been doing? What have I been thinking? What has my team been doing? What have we been thinking about? So in my case today, I was reviewing the latest 100 applications that we got for our school. We have a virtual school and tuition is about $16,000. It's about to go up. And I was just reviewing some of the reasons why people were switching from their schools and attempting to join ours. So, you know, I have the thing that I'm doing, which is reviewing information, and I have a need to create content. So what can I do with this? Well, one of the things that I could easily do to market ourselves would be to just tell the story about things that I'm seeing as I'm seeing. So I might say that, you know, out of the last 100 applications that we receive, 40% come from online schools. And maybe that's enough for your, you know, your marketing to do something that maybe I can just add a little bit extra information. Perhaps I might say that in the past, most of the applications were coming from public schools, but then now we're seeing an increase in online schools. I might add a little bit more and say that this is particularly interesting because in the past, people were just mostly switching between public and private education, and now they are trying virtual. But even though they're trying virtual, they're switching from a virtual school into a virtual school like ours, which maybe, you know, the light bulb that goes into my brain is, okay, people are trying new stuff and they don't want to try the old stuff back, so they're still trying to make a leap of faith towards new alternatives, and they are perceiving that our school, it's appealing. And maybe the piece of content, again, could be just the data or it could be just data analysis, but that's just a single piece of content that already came up and it's telling something that it's happening within my school. You know, something else that I might do is just share some quotes. I might share that I recently saw a parent reach out to us that was mentioning how her child was just absolutely bored at classes because she felt that she was way ahead of the curriculum, but unfortunately the school didn't let her just go beyond that, because then you would not be following the pace that all of your teammates, well, not teammates, but classmates are actually following. So, you know, now I have 2 tweets, and what I'll do whenever I have a blank calendar is that I'm not thinking about pillars, I'm not thinking about angle, I'm just thinking about what are we doing? Like, as long as we have a mission and a vision and we're setting expectations, everything we're doing within our marketing should be reflecting that. So I just gave you an example of how I would come out with 2 tweets, and I would just keep on repeating that process of reflecting on what am I doing and what might be interesting for people to know about. So maybe, you know, some of the tweets might be coming from the parent interviews that I ran in December. You know, it's January right now. Maybe I share some bits of information around, you know, recent parent testimonials on an open house that we had in our school. You know, we're increasingly being reached out by families who are coming from all of these 40, 50, 60,000 in-person schools, and they are not happy what they're getting, and now they're coming into us. So these are all, again, it's just bits of information that in me telling about, you know, telling the world about them, you know, the world might find appealing. And I don't want to diminish the work of strategy. Like, of course, I'm using strategy as a lens by which I pick what to communicate. So I've given the example in the past about, for example, an app like Hinge. You know, Hinge is a dating app, and they are driven by the concept of designed to be deleted. So if I'm designed to be deleted, which means that I'm going to help you get a partner, of course, I'm going to look at the day-to-day things that are happening within my company and just share the things that are related to it. But the cool thing is that if you're aligning your marketing, which is what you say, with your product, which is what you do, it shouldn't be hard at all. And that's why precisely in the process of creating content, all I'm doing is just sharing what we're doing. And you might ask yourself, like, where is this going to? Well, for me, the most important thing that you can do in marketing is just show up every single day. Like, usually you're trying to convince people of something or be associated to something. And usually this happens easier the more people hear about you. So, you know, I might use a tool like Buffer for scheduled content. And what I might do is that, for example, I might just reflect on what happened that day, and I might come up, let's say, with 50 tweets. And let's say that we're spreading those 50 tweets over the course of a week. So what I might do is that I might make the decision to sit down the next day and do the same, and now I have 100 tweets. Let's say those 100 tweets are gonna go over the course of 2 weeks. The reason why I call this process incremental and progressive is that I'm thinking less about a content calendar and thinking more about just saying the same thing, communicating the same ideas in thousands of different ways every single day. So what I might decide to do is just schedule enough content as to fill up the whole month. Or I might do something which I often do more often, which is rather than publishing 50 tweets over the course of 2 weeks, let's just publish 200. Why if we turn some tweets into essays, into LinkedIn posts? And the incremental progressive aspect of my process is simply that when I started with you just filling up enough tweets or enough information, again, it could be tweets, it could be ads, it could be Substack posts, asked to publish daily, the more prolific I am, the more posts I'm gonna let our accounts publish every single day to just increase the benefits that come from content. And I might do this, and what ends up happening often is that, at least within our school, we're publishing hundreds of times per month throughout this process. And again, it's just a process in which I just started with, what are we doing? And what do I tell people about this day? And then what many things can I tell people about in all of these particular days? And that way is that I achieve both consistency, which a few companies actually achieve because they're thinking a lot about strategizing and less about execution. But on top of that, I also guarantee that the kind of output that I'm publishing is always going up because I'm doing the work daily, and then I can just let people know about it. And consistency is a key part of it. Like, I have advised dozens of companies. I'm an executive at one. I consistently reach out, especially by education companies, but I've been reached out by companies from all over the world across different niches. And usually the main problem they have is that it's not that they lack a $60,000 brand strategy, or that they don't have the book, or that they don't have all the people that are inclined to go into a meeting and just brainstorm and strategize marketing. The drawback that they have, or the downside or weakness that they have or problem, is just that they're not doing anything. Or they might go through periods in which they publish a lot because they get this high out of all these meetings, and they come in and they publish for like a week, and that's what a lot of our competitors do. They publish for like a week, or maybe 2 or maybe 3, and then they just disappear because they have no idea what the fuck they want to talk about, or because they have all these internal systems that have to qualify something before it goes up. So a single essay might go through the eyes of 5 people, all with different incentives and all with different just taste. And what ends up happening is that they don't publish anything at all. What I'm advocating towards is not necessarily meaningless posting. It's more of a, once you have the guardrails, once you have, let's say, the guiding principle of what you want your content to follow, or your marketing, or once you have your motto or your purpose or your company vision, or let's say your positioning statement, have the flexibility necessary to just align your product to marketing, which is super tough. Most companies are just saying random shit that sounds appealing and interesting, but then people go into their companies and they see that they are not getting that thing, and then they leave, and then they just talk shit about this company because they were lying. And I recorded a full video on this. But rather than doing that, just say the thing as it's happening and do it on a consistent enough basis so that you have the alignment towards the principles that you want to follow, but you also have the flexibility and comfort of knowing that you're going to keep publishing content day in and day out. And I think a lot of people look for, in this case, at the time of recording, our K-12 virtual school, the school in which, again, I hold the chief marketing and also product officer hats, and they see that I'm not even marketing all the time, and we don't have people marketing. Like, there are very few business people within our company, and most of them are just teachers, which are just life-changing for all the students that we have, but they're not thinking about business at all. And even then, without a marketing budget for, let's say, organic, we're hitting millions of people per month on Twitter. We're doing the same across all of our different channels. Like, if you sum all of our channels, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, we're hitting millions and millions of people every single month just out of being prolific, while of course aligning, our product and our value propositions to this content, so that we not only get the millions of impressions that we're getting, but on top of that, we're also getting hundreds of applications for our school, which of course translate to hundreds of thousands of dollars from people who are just consistently learning about all the life-changing experiences that we're sharing, which are genuine, which are actually happening. And that once these people, the prospects come into us and they experience a shadow day and they experience the product and they realize that it's true, they just keep on coming and they have a wonderful time, because it's the time that we promise out of the things that were actually happening. I've been hired for the $40,000 brand strategy process. It's been years since I ran a project for less than $10,000, anything related to strategy, even if it just takes 1 or 2 meetings to be achieved. So I know for a fact the importance of it, but at times all you have to do is just do the thing. And do the thing at times requires both the rigorousness of knowing what you're going to say, which I've shared tons of videos on how to do that on top. But beyond that, just also the scrappiness and flexibility of just executing on a day-to-day basis. And whether you're an executive like I am or just a marketing person starting out, and whether you're an executive or just a marketing person starting out, know that I've gone through all the processes required to plan and strategize. And I've never found a bigger benefit and a bigger source of, bigger lifetime customer value, lower customer acquisition costs, and millions of dollars in revenue than just actually marketing.